past president in our midst, Mr. Alistaka is here. You're welcome as well. Mr. Kimola too here, present with us. And Mr. Kimola is also past coordinator of this chapter. Also, Mr. Heibaza is here also. Thank you for coming. Our representative from NNPC, you have people from private organization also. And I'm sure online too, there are a lot of people there watching us. And I'm happy you're here this morning. So moving forward, today you're having an eminent personality, Prof, coming to do a presentation for us today. And it's so interesting to know that our topic today is out of the square. It's just new. We're all used to Niger Delta Basin, Anambra Basin, Sokoto Basin, and all the other upcoming oil producing basins in Nigeria. But today we are checking something out of Nigeria. We're looking at preliminary results of hydrocarbon prospectivity of Block 1A and Block L3, Lamu Basin, Kenya. I'm sure you just love to hear this. So our professor is here, Professor Charles Ofoegbu from Institute of Geosciences and Earth Resources, Nasarawa State University, Kebbi. You're welcome, Prof. Actually, Prof, you can sit down. I want the vice coordinator of this chapter, Mr. Emmanuel, to come and give us a brief biography of Prof. Ofoegbu. Thanks for coming once again. And relax and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And once again, welcome to the Abuja chapter's technical meeting, the very first for this year, 2023. And just before I go ahead with the biography of our distinguished speaker, I would like to recognize the presence of the President-elect, Mr. Biodun Ogunjobi. I would like to inform every one of us that this meeting is a hybrid meeting, so it's both physical and virtual meeting. So we have a lot of attendees in the virtual space, and one of them is the President-elect. I also want to recognize the presence of other fellows of the association. I can see Mr. Charles Ojo, Dr. Joe Eje Dawe, yeah, and amongst other fellows and senior colleagues in the association. Once again, you're welcome to this quarter's technical meeting. So the biography of Professor Charles Ofoegbu, he was born the 31st of October, 1954. Professor Charles obtained a bachelor's science degree from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. He had an MSc and a PhD from the University of Durham, the United Kingdom in 1982. He was supervised by Professor Martin Bolt. After an initial stint with the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, as a geophysicist, Professor Charles moved over to the university system, rising to become a full professor for over 30 years ago. As that of the geophysics research group working with Joseph Ebomi Rowe, pioneered the postgraduate program in the applied geophysics at Port Harcourt. Professor Charles's experience spanned through the government, the university, and also the oil and gas industry. He was the special advisor on mineral resources and environmental protection, Abia State, the head exploration research, NNPC, the Director General and CEO of the Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, the Chairman, National Think Tank in Solid Minerals, the Project Director and the Vice Chancellor of the Catholic University of Nigeria, the Veritas University. He's a visiting professor, the National Universities Commission. He is the Chairman, the Mineral Resources and Environmental Management Committee. Is a member of the Presidential Committee on Earth Tremors, the Chairman, Technical Committee of Oil and Gas Development in Anambra State. He has an Alexander Volhobalt Fellow in 1981. And Professor Charles has been a member and a fellow of several professional bodies. He joined the SEG as a student member in the 70s and now a life member. He has mentored and produced several MSc and PhD graduates, many of whom have held key positions in the extractive industry and risen to be full professors in different universities. He also served as the Nigerian Charter Chairman of the SEG, Professor Charles, as an Executive Director of A-Z Petroleum, oversaw the acquisition and the operation of the oil blocks in Kenya, Sierra Leone, Burundi, Senegal, and Ghana. He is presently a professor of applied geophysics and director of the Institute of Geosciences and Health Resources, KEFI in Nigeria. He is a recipient of several awards and honors. He has authored and co-authored over 120 scientific publications and books. Professor Charles is married and is with children. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Professor Charles Ofoegbu.
But I think might have opted for the citation of SEG, which because they just made me a director on the board of SEG, representing District 9, that's covering Africa. And that's what is published in Geophysics and Leading Age. That's right. I'm going to be speaking on something that, speaking on a topic generally not very common. Maybe if it's in East Africa or World Petroleum Congress or so, then one will say you are at home. Because Nigeria is a leading country in oil and gas, we have a lot to discuss of our own, not to talk of people who are just marginal as far as the development of the industry goes. But I think we should also begin to look outwards, realizing that a lot of people with less experience than we have in Nigeria are there grabbing what Nigerians should be doing from our sister African countries. I wondered initially of the industry, then back to the university. At the end of my tenure as a vice chancellor in the NSUK, I decided to go out into the industry and partner with people. And we started to emphasize not the marginal fields in Nigeria, but to look outwards to other countries, such as Kenya, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Burundi, as you have. So what I'm speaking on today is just the preliminary results of the hydrocarbon prospectivity of Block L1 and Block L3 in the Lamu Basin in Kenya. This next slide. Well, that's the introduction. The introduction just details what we intend to look at. We're going to be looking at regional geology, stratigraphy, petrography, well correlation, paleogeography, source rock and basin modeling, petrophysical analysis, seismic processing and interpretation, identification of hydrocarbon plays and prospects, as well as the preliminary leads, the preliminary results and risk assessment that was carried out. You know, this, like I said, this was done when I was done by the company. We had as consultants. We're not giving Block L3 that is in detail, but the other one was just as part of the entire activity map of Kenya. The next, that's for Block L1A. Next one, well, those are some of the wells in Kenya as it relates to the work we've done. Some of them have been taken from Shell, from different companies. You know, in the industry, for my colleagues here, they know you never reinvent the wheel, you start somewhere. And so next slide, those are the Kenyan wells. And the existing database is what we have listed. Next one, these are the existing database, which includes wells, includes logs, includes go on next. Okay. So I've listed here the different database, the seismic data that was available, and then the tapes, the number of tapes we had to work on, quite a substantial number of tapes we had to work on. And we have to recover the tapes because some of them have been done for a pretty long time, not in very conducive conditions. So we were able to recover all the data. That was the key job we had to do. And then the next, the regional geology. Well, the regional geology of, go on the next slide, I'll just make it very quickly. The Lamu Basin is part of the business you find in East Africa, part of business in Kenya, the rift system. And what I have there is the sedimentary business we have in the place, and then where Lamu Basin fits in. Go to the figure, then I go, okay. So you can see the rifting in the business in East Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia. The basin we're talking about falls in, part of it is in Somalia, substantially is in Kenya. And this whole system is part of the rift in Africa, in and around Africa, that took off from the Atlantic, from the Niger Delta, the Benue Trough, through Yola, through Niger, and then moving on to, and that is the map that shows you the entire rift. You can see where our Benue Trough, Niger Delta, which I have put in a circle there, and where it now links the triple junctions that keep developing until we get into where we are, and that is the Horn of Africa. And it's a complex, and even come right down to South Africa, and all these little structures became business that are now rich in oil, either like we have in Niger Delta, or at least to some extent rich in oil. Then that's the Lamu Basin, the regional geology now reflecting the Lamu Basin, which is our basin of interest. What was the time, was the age, and what have you? I've listed all that there. I think because we don't have time, I'm going to go through some of these so that we can get straight to geophysics, the petrophysics, and a copy of this will be made available to the secretariat. And then that's the stratigraphy. Next, please. Okay, that gives you the map, the geological map, the regional geological map of Kenya, and then emphasizing the Lamu Basin. You can see the white places are actually Somalia and what have you, you know. And that's the stratigraphy as derived from the available the well data. Next one, that's the petroleum system for the place. The stratigraphy again gone, and then you can now see so much of the stratigraphy. All the wells we had to look at the stratigraphy, the rest of the stratigraphy based on the different wells quite extensively, and then that's the sedimentology and petrography, what we had to do. And so these are some of these slides we had to come and study and analyze as part of the work. And that's again has to do with sedimentology. Go on next. And now this is where we try to correlate the different wells. There are so many wells. We have to correlate the different wells and try to correlate them with even wells in Tanzania and all of that area. And that's the well correlation and the results of the well correlation. Next, please. So you see the correlation between those two wells, one at one, the other one, and then we're trying to pick out the red and then have them tied to each other. Now there are three. And next one, okay, same thing. Continue. So that's all about well correlation. It's very detailed, and these are the unit stratigraphic unit thicknesses we derived, and then on the basis of that we came up with the petroleum systems. Go down. The paleogeography. There's in a few lines summary of the paleogeography, the work that was done, and that is what the paleogeography of the Lamu Basin looks like based on our work. Next one. Next one. And okay. These are still on the paleogeography. And then this is the source rock and basin modeling. So those are the source rocks and basin modeling. We had to look at the source rocks, and the source rocks occur in wells that are drilled in the Lamu Basin, and the wells where we identify the source rocks from where, the names of the wells are listed there, and those are the key ones for L1A and L3. The source rock intervals were also identified, and then we now have to model the basin, both the arrive at the matured parts. Then the source rocks modeling thematics. We determine the lines and depth at which source rocks can generate hydrocarbon for that basin. And what we have there is the model for the basin model, what we arrive with from the basin, and then in conclusion, the age, the only matured source rock in the study area is there, the Basin, and then also we did dry well analysis, and in the absence of one or more of the essential petroleum systems, components, processes, the well was not fully evaluated, and then we extracted as much results as we can, and that's the outcome of the dry well analysis. Then the Petrophysical Studies. Those are the wells we use for the Petrophysical Studies. They were all in around the 2 blocks. But the blocks, the wells were within the blocks, and they were very close to the blocks, maybe 97 blocks. And then the good thick reservoir sections were identified in most wells. And then sandstones, the edges, we tied with the geology, and then those. And this is one of the wells, one, the details of the study, the reservoir parameters will be one, next one. And still the petrophysics continued. Then we come to the geophysics, the seismic interpretation, which again we carried out for the 2 blocks. And we had to determine looked at this is the seismic section. This one is from the shell BP shell line, in block L3. Very poor continuity, coherence of the reflectors, and the fault planes were not easily seen. These are some of the factors that makes the work very difficult for us, because these are old, some of the data are good, apart from 1 or 2 lines we shot ourselves that are clean. And then the data quality again, you can see the quality, but still we made the best of it. Look at where we started and look at where we ended in our processing. You can see we ended up having some improvement based on which we worked. And then this one, maybe should have been detected, okay. And yeah, again, the satellite images. We had to bring in satellite images to give us some of the seismic line tracks, because we need that for future work and to improve on the quality of the data we have for navigation. Then we did some test processing, and one side you can see the details of the test processing, which we carried out, and the results of some of the test results are also there. Of course, up with all this, we developed the petroleum system for that area, for the Lamu Basin, which is now being used by other companies. We came up with what we consider to be the petroleum system for that basin, because we were the first to go in there to start work. So we need to have that to guide us in everything, all that we do. And then the seismic interpretation and the play types. We're able to identify some plays, 8, some plays in both the L3 and L1A. We identify some plays. And we also try to, based on these plays, we did the studies for the plays to do the risk analysis. The summary of what we found from research, because it's still an ongoing work, is that we're going to have predominantly gas, which has become proven, because in East Africa, there's a bit of oil in there, but it's predominantly gas prone, which is why the British gas, they've even been lobbying people like us and they want to take over. But they're taking over all the fields, British gas. Because in East Africa, they have a lot of gas. And well, everybody's talking about gas now, not even the normal oil talk about. And then those are the trap structure and trap types we're able to identify, and we also did produce the time and depth maps. That's for L3. And then this for L1A. And then that's the regional depth maps for the Eocene and then the top Cretaceous, which we were able to produce based on our study. Next one. And again, we had to look at satellite gravity, because there's some areas not covered by seismic, and we felt that and they don't have a lot of magnetics or anything. But since we can assess satellite gravity data, we decided to get the standard data, the gravity data, and then and look at it. And that's the result of the kind of NMDC is even doing now for some of the inland basins. You know, the frontier exploration is doing. Go on next. The next one. Okay. And then we also decided to correlate the faults, yeah. And what we have there is the fault correlations in block L1A. And then next one, again, we looked at the horizontal horizons that were interpreted. The work was very detailed because we're starting from step one. It's a country that is not that just they have that data collected by the column, some data was collected, and then that was it. They only wanted to go into because they have basins that have thick sedimentary thicknesses and so on. So we had to actually literally go through the full sequence before we ended up at looking at where do we go from there, you know. And you see the interpretation this time, you know, all that we did. You see, like these are the unconformities we identified, and the gas composition data for the blocks. We even had to attend the composition of the gas, the gas based on what we have, and that's the composition. The data is there. The next one, okay, then that's our lines of evidence, but we now have to begin to look at the risk analysis. Is it worth it continuing? What do we do moving forward, and so on? And I'll let you know where we got to. Continue now. Next one. That's a summary of the physical properties of the major reservoirs in block L1 and block L3. That's a summary. The reservoirs gone. We marked out where the reservoirs are built on the logs and the faces. You know, it's the same story but for based on different wells. Then these are about the hydrocarbon plays, you know, where they mapped to determine the areas and trends where all key elements of the petroleum system combine to create prospective trend or play. And those are the plays, hydrocarbon play. This is category block L3, block L1A. You can even see the continuity between the two where they flood, and then the different play types. We identify the play types. Go on next. Still on the hydrocarbon plays. And then the major play we found in the Eocene, you know, and the Eocene sedimentary, and then the other major play is the Miocene. Go on. And then now that's where we charted the plays, and now the leads. So that's the block L1A leads, which we have mapped to position where they are. You know, that's what block L1A. Still on leads for block L1A, together with the data what we can derive analysis and make section based on which we work with. Next one. Next one. That are still the different leads. So it's the same story. But next one. And then that's what block L3, the leads that we're going to identify for block L3. Go on next. You know, this still, and then this is the block L3 leads. Okay. Still the leads for block L3, because that number of 6 and 8 respectively. And then we now pinpointed on that. So these are the prospective resource assessment based on the extent to which we've gone. And then that's the A-Z Petroleum Resource Management System guideline, which we used. And then our initial conclusion was that none of the crafts delivered, defined or ready for drilling, and therefore leads not prospect. That's where we are after. Now that are not prospects yet. And then we felt that there was need for us to do further studies to look at some areas not being covered. And this is why we decided that what we're going to do was to do the FTG, carry out an FTG study, full tensor gravity survey. That survey has been completed by Stratigraphy and then analyzed, and we're now hoping now that will determine where next wells and where we believe are more feasible for us. And that's the result from the prospective resource assessment we carried out. Go on next. The gas completion everything L1A prospective resources. And the geological risk analysis also we carried out. They identifying the source rocks and caps and what have you. Next. So still on the risk analysis. And then this is the example of resource assessment, risk analysis of the area. Now we decided to rank the leads, and that's the ranking we did for the leads to determine which of them we should follow, pursue first, or which of them we should not. And we had to do some ranking of the leads. This is the future new gravity gravimetry and seismic program options, which we have put in place. Like I said, we've already done the FTG, the full tensor gravity, and now we're supposed to then go back. And those are the lines from already areas of interest based on the work we've done. So we're all going to shoot more seismic, 3D seismics. And then also we're being assisted with the results from the full tensor gravity, which I think at the moment NNPC are beginning to do full tensor gravity in some of our basins, similar to Lamu Basin. We've done it already in Lamu Basin, and I'm aware that if yes, they actually talk to me. Go on. So that's the conclusions we arrived at, both on the stratigraphy, reservoirs, the key resources, and for the Lamu Basin, based on the work of the blocks. Next one. Is that the last? Okay. So I think I'll thank you for listening. Hope maybe we'll find time to make a presentation when this work is completed, and maybe we'll produce our effect better. I don't agree with much. Even as I made the presentation, it's not everything going to details. The idea is for people to know that there are businesses like this and some work is going on, and that some Nigerians are involved. Some of us are involved going on in Kenya and even in Burundi. So, in fact, the traffic mechanism in Burundi is one that is so spectacular. The Lake Victoria, there's a place where the rock joins the lake at the point there. You'll be surprised that the well was striked by the edge of the lake. That became like we have growth force in Nigeria. That became our own growth force, and we were able to pick it up. And in fact, the next oil that Burundi is producing, which makes them part of this East African pipeline project, is from there. Hopefully, we're going to make it. A lot has gone in for whole industry. Now, at this stage, you put in a lot, and you pray that eventually it will recover.
Thank you, Prof, for that great exposition into the Kenya Basin. Going forward, we're going to invite the chairman of the occasion of this committee this morning, Mr. Ajibola F. Nape, to come and coordinate the question and answer Please have another panelist to me. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon to all of us. Please pardon our coordinator, Dr. Eunice Ajayi, who at the beginning did not introduce the chairman, so she's learning the trade. And so she has done the right thing by introducing me. Not only was I the foundation chapter coordinator here, I was also a past president in NAPI. I was also a past editor in NAPI. Several other positions, but let's leave that, and of course, a fellow of NAPI. And so, as she has recognized all the fellows, Alex actually took over from me when I left the presidency. So NAPI is continuing. So we have people also going to make continue to make NAPI a professional association of choice. So thank you very much, Professor Charles Ofoegbu, for the quick overview of the Lamu Basin, especially the Block L1A and Block L3. You may not actually have, not be able to appreciate all the things that Prof has presented, but because it's a big job, it's a massive job, there are so many slides, you can't begin to talk into each of the slides one by one. Yes, actually giving just probably it's an overview of what they are doing. It's an ongoing work, an ongoing effort, and he's been able to tell us that, look, even beyond the shore of Nigeria, there are Nigerians that are actually also working and in other basins, which is a very good thing. One of the first things I asked when I came, I said, what are they doing in Kenya? And I came and said, there are also opportunities in Nigeria. And the NUPRC just also conducted the bidding round. Why are you not taking opportunities southern part of Lagos? But I mean, that's the beauty of the profession, is that Nigerians are so bright and smart that we can always contribute to the knowledge and, of course, the discovery of hydrocarbon in other sister African countries, which is one of the things his company and his group have been doing. Prof has told us that it's a very complex stratigraphy. When you look at what he presented, it's a very, very complex stratigraphy with a lot of graben structures. I mean, you can talk about it, structural geology. Actually, the area is graben field structure. It's not like the typical anticlines that you find in Nigeria. So the more reason why it can be very, very complex. Same thing with what we are doing also in Nigeria, in the inland basins of Nigeria. Most of the structures in inland basins are graben structures. So and they are comparable. So go to Kenya, Somalia, and the like. So they are all along the same path, which is what he's doing. He's told us they've also drilled a lot of dry wells. We did that in Nigeria. Also, of course, in the inland basin, we did a lot of dry wells. In the Lamu Basin, we drilled over 21 dry wells. But efforts are also way back there. As a profession, we don't give up. You may spend money and you think it's a waste. It's not a waste. A dry well is a lesson, actually. So this is actually what we say. If I recall, in Kenya started exploration in 1950. And they only made the first discovery in 2012. They have wasted, you can see they have wasted money, but the effort paid off at the end of the day. And so now they can talk of gas, which is very, very good, even in terms of clean energy, if you want to go along that route. So that's clean energy than what we can think about. Let's talk about the kind of studies they carried out, the suite of all geological studies, petrological studies, seismic data reprocessing. Of course, you can see that the data is very bad. So those are things that contribute to drilling dry wells. So, and if you go with the idea of a rollover decline in a graben basin, you come out dry. So it's not the same kind of structure that you're looking for there, to find there. So that's why we want to commend the effort of NMPC recent discoveries in many of the land bases. That is we failed before other part, and then we're making success right now in the Nasarawa axis, which is very good. Prof has also told us there is a working hydrocarbon system, petroleum system. We have reservoirs, we have the trap, and we have to seal those areas. So, meaning that opportunities are bound in this business. One thing that they are doing, which is commendable too, is what a lot of people, we don't need to do that in Nigeria. Even if you do it, it's good. It's a satellite gravity data that allows you to be able to know the thickest portion of the basin before you even start to drill. So some of those efforts, the help to complement the exploration activities. So satellite gravity data is acquisition very good. What else? The plays where they are in block L1A and L3 is essentially Eocene, Oligocene, and Miocene plays. So there's been a suite of several leads that have been identified, which they will now mature to prospect level, which will be the engine. And then by the time they start producing gas, that maybe Prof will employ some of us when they are retired. So I will leave it at that. So Lamu Basin is good for them, and they are working actively in this basin. And so it's a very commendable effort, Prof, to you and your team. Congratulations. Probably when you make your discovery, you will come to Nabe, even at the bigger platform, and tell us some of the positive things, some of the good steps that you took in order for you to make it discovery. So we'll take some questions now, both in the hall as well as online. There's already one question online from Anas Lawal. He said, why is the porosity reducing with depth? So, because you may want to write that question down. If you don't have an answer now, you can tell them, you can tell us. But if you do, please tell us. I don't know which particular slide is talking about porosity. I myself, I didn't see any slide of porosity actually, but maybe it's so online. See, why is the porosity reducing with depth? So that's the first question. Are there other questions online? Please let us know. Just write it down and give it to me. In-house, are there questions from the audience? Yes, my brother, yeah. Go ahead. Your name, your affiliation. You need to come. You can come. Yeah. Your name, your affiliations, and then your question. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ofoegbu Bright, presenting Metrics Geo Consulting. All right, so my question is on the volumetrics. I would like to know the parameters that were used to observe the SOIP, if there was, and also the OGIP as the original gas interface.
Okay. That's question 2. Let's take all of the questions. Are there any other questions? Yes, please come. So that Prof can answer them at once. Your name, your affiliation, and then your question.
Good afternoon. I'm James. FES. My question is as regards the chance of success. So we can see from your estimation that the biggest influence on the chance of success is the charge. And you proposed some additional studies to be done. So what's driving that particular value, and what would improve your confidence in the charge.
Okay. Any other question in-house? Once I close it in-house, you have no room to ask any question. So no other question. Online, any other question online? No other question. So okay, Prof, please come and answer all the questions.
But just like my colleague said, with regards to the first question, why is porosity reducing with depth? Generally, people believe that porosity will always increase with depth. There's no real situations where it does reduce with depth. What I presented here, like I said, are the facts as we found it from our study. So from the porosity logs, we identify, we can see that the deeper we went from that log we saw, is for us to go back and ask ourselves, what is different in the geology there vis-a-vis the Niger Delta, where most times, most of our wells, the porosity is increasing with depth, not reducing. But I think the BBB already mentioned to you that the structures we have there, if the terrain we have there, the basin itself is slightly different from the typical Niger Delta basin. And in fact, from 10 FES, people will agree that if they published all their results, that some of these will also emerge, which are moving up the limit of where you have a lot of gravel, you have a lot of this. You also the thermomechanical processes going on is slightly different from what we have in the typical delta basin. But I didn't go into that because this is an ongoing work and we still have to go back and say, when we now decide what we want to look at, is a research, we want to look at it, we'll now go back and say, why did this happen, why did that happen, why did this happen? But for now, we assembled all this and we're trying to reduce possible areas of concern and interest, because the bottom line, I want to do the recover. And then the original gas increases. We did mention, we used the 2011 model as our baseline, as our basis for determining the volumetrics. And that's what in East Africa, most even in Uganda and Tanzania, that's what is being used. And the additional work we're doing, we needed to do all this, and we believe that it will give us better hold on the assets. For example, when you look at the coverage of the seismic, it's not everywhere that was covered. We found out that some of the places not covered, at the edge of the areas were covered, the wells at the edge turned out from the studies to be a bit more encouraging. Now we said, okay, let's go back and do, and we also want to do additional 3D seismic. We don't want to keep spending money and drilling dry wells. And we said, how do we check, how do we control it? One major system now used in the industry is the full tensor gravity. In Nigeria already we're doing it. They'll do this, use the full tensor gravity, use it and the satellite gravity to further define the approach, and they know where to now emphasize. So that we don't go spending money doing 3D seismic to cover the whole area, and then we can now identify places we want. We have already started the 3D seismic, the FTG is already processed, already interpreted, but we're not presenting the results here because you have to look back some of your results until you have yourself used it for what you want to use it for. And it's one of the first times FTG is being used for exploration, if not even globally, sort of, if not globally, in East Africa, in that part of the world. You know, why we slowed down a bit, we had a very terrible, you know, this block borders Somalia. And borders Somalia, and this humble man standing here not only escaped being kidnapped by Al-Shabaab on one of the trips. In fact, there was a hotel that was attacked. Somalia there. There was attack in Kenya in Lamu Basin and Garissa. That hotel was our base hotel when we were doing the EIA and community and so on. And I think we shortly extracted ourselves and our expatriate partners, and there was an attack there. So it's also very unsafe, like you have in the Niger Delta. their own is even more serious because there's a cross-border attacks from Somalia. You're hearing of the other Shabab, or that is actually where they're operating. You know, Lamu Basin is close to Mombasa, and Mombasa that's all the terrible territory. So there's also a lot of risk. But the good thing with them is that the government of Kenya makes available to us security reports that are updated almost every 1 hour. Once, because they're interested in their own, they want us to succeed. And everyone, almost every hour, they're giving security reports. You may be driving towards the report will say to you, turn back, go back, don't continue. They have information there's a crisis there. Something we don't have to discuss, but that really most of them are hungry to find this oil and to make money from it, so they're prepared to do anything to make it possible for companies to operate. Thank you.
Prof, don't go, just step aside. There are other questions for you. And some comments also from online. I was actually going to ask you that, given the sensitivity of this area, you can make a discovery. You know, Somalia and Lamu Basin surrounded by, you know, what I don't want to mention. You know it already. You already started talking about kidnapping and all that. You make a discovery in this area. What are your plans really with security? Really, not even the asset, but of course, the human asset is equally very important. And you that have been traveling, the Lord has been keeping you, but probably you'll be thinking about that already. During the presentation, Prof, you showed a slide where the section was not clear, and you said that there was one challenge you encountered. I would like you to tell us how you were able to overcome the challenge and proceed with your work. Do you remember that slide? Yeah. Oh, okay. The quality of the slides. Okay.
Well, we now have to this slide that came from a tape that was where we had to even subject the tape to heating. All kinds of normal conventional processes we take to the tape to recover the data from the tape. Then also we had to bring in additional expertise to help us recover the data before we continue. And it's common with most, even for those in marginal, some of us who are working in Anambra State where they have oil now, we did find out that a major problem countries like SICO face was quality of the data led by Shell and Alpha, right? You know, because preservation was the problem. Nigeria is even better, but we have experience. Yeah, they don't have you need to know even the samples, you need to see where they're just, you have to go and identify them, get them, and begin to clean them up and get them. Even we flew some out of the took some out overseas to have them processed and cleaned up.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because it's actually one of the challenges we also had in the Chad Basin when we were trying to process those to the sticky tapes. They were very sticky, so it's because of how they were stored and all that. So you have challenges trying to recover the data. So, okay, thank you, Prof, for this presentation. Given the hydrocarbon, this is from Edwin and Barry, this is my colleague from the office. Given the hydrocarbon potential of the area of interest in Lamu Basin, are you considering shooting a new 3D seismic to further this risk in prospectivity?
Yes, yeah, of course, we're trying to. That's why we decided that we want to reduce our expenses to as minimum as possible. And that's why we want to do the FTG. We've done the FTG, has been done, analysis carried out, and we're now trying to determine precisely what areas to shoot to make sure that we shoot where we know we'll gain.
Exactly, not just shooting the seismic on the entire area, but concentrating your seismic, 3D seismic on some of those specific areas where you have delineated from the rest of it. Porosity tend to reduce with depth, we are attributable to the watering process during the genesis. There is increased compaction with better depth. We also need to reduce permeability. Coming from someone This is Dr. Jedaway porosity normally decrease with depth because of compaction and genetic processes. Some increase may occur where there is early overpressure development that may preserve porosity. That's a comment and a response from Dr. Jedaway. Also, sir, you mentioned about delta in another slide. Please, what is a delta and how is it related to this bill? I can't remember you mentioned a delta anywhere.
No, I think I just said that when I presented the map on rifting in and around Africa, that map was taken from my books. My book on the Petrophysical is actually what started the book, rifting in and around Africa. And I said you can see the link, how these basins are linked, how the rifting and the associated basins, beginning from the Niger Delta. And that's what you run then right through to Chad Basin, from Chad Basin to Niger, from Niger, and have now joined the Horn of Africa, and then downwards to Namibia and so on. And these are also the areas where in Africa we're finding oil, and people are beginning to believe that. And most times when you go to these meetings, even the World Petroleum Company will tell you, if you found it in the Niger Delta, then it must be here. Because they're using it
as a template. So, okay, I remember now. So, there's another comment, it's just another comment on the reduction of porosity depth. I think it is important to mention that porosity depth trends, brackets, reduction with depth except due to evaporation, which Dr. Jedaway also alluded to. Diagnostic changes apply mostly to plastics. Carbonate is a different dynamics, which is true. So you're absolutely correct. So that's a comment from online. Are there any other comments online? I think this is it the limit of what we can take? Coordinator. Okay, Prof. Thank you very much. Let's give you a round of applause to Professor Chapman. Oh, okay. Alex. Okay, Alex. Welcome. Before we clap for Prof, maybe you have to answer his question.
Sure. To edge his work. Yeah, I want to just thank Prof again for this presentation, for my little contribution, just because NNPC pays my pension, and I've been a part of the frontier you keep mentioning. I love to always try to advertise what we're doing, because some of us are still part of what is going on even in retirement. My name is Alex Tucker. I'm the MD of the Coastline Energy Limited, one of the new upstream companies that is just about 6 months old after my retirement. I would love you to, based on what you have said here, to find time to actually liaise with some of our colleagues who are still one of us. You've been a part of NNPC. The frontier exploration of NNPC have done unusual exploration work. Serious cost saving. I wasn't at a lorry, but I was told part of the achievements were presented, just like you are doing preliminary to us. We are still looking at that data, but the stages that we're taking to arrive at what has been achieved, which is still a mystery to so many Nigerians and international group, is because the frontier operation, because of the regional nature of operation, had to start with geological field mapping. And all the neighboring universities, including Nasarawa State, where you are currently handling very sensitive geological issues, was part of the team to assist the universities within the areas of operation. So from geological field mapping, you move to your at least 2D. I'm happy you have mentioned FTG. We went beyond FTG to SFD, stress field detection. Stress field detection tells you where your fleets are. Whatever we're doing in exploration, our target is to see the place of interest. These are serious cost-saving approaches. And then from there, you move to what we call magnetoteoric Magnetotelluric is more or less drilling a well for you. And if you put all these together and then you integrate them, you discover that it will be very difficult to drill any dry hole. We did about 3 wells in Kurman. There's still a mystery to people, but those of us that were at the forefront, we believe in what we are doing. We are currently in Nasarawa today. We know what we're expecting, and we continue to move around. It is difficult with this approach to drill any dry hole in the frontier of today. The cost is good, a lot of cost saving, because 3D is expensive. You must carry out this integration so that by the time you are shooting in 3D, it should be purely in the area you really want to de-risk, to drill and make your money and make recoveries. Thank you very much.
You know, what I just said that frontier exploration is doing is exactly precisely the way to go about it now. There's always a difference between when you are working with the budget presented to you by a country, because when you're operating, they also have a limit. When you're going to do a cash call, they have limits to what they will accept. And that's still new in the industry. For NNPC, the politics of the oil exploration and the exploitation is such that you must do everything possible to prove that there's no oil anywhere before you ever vacate the place. If you know where I was involved in the I sent some people to do for the market survey, and the number I'm still part of, like you say, part of frontier exploration. But it's always the difference when you go for budget in some of these countries, like, and you're telling them $1 million for this. They're like, what are you talking about? Or in Sierra Leone or places like that. They don't understand what you're talking about. They're going to spend this amount of money because they know you're going to recover. I take it back eventually. So you also have to have that in mind. But I think you're perfect, you're correct. We will start somewhere. Let's look at the separate data. Let's do the FTG, hopefully to further constrain areas of our 3D. And then the magnetotelluric, again, it's a trend that is working and working very well. And that's right. I know it's not been too long we did the magnetotellurics before we started drilling. Because by 12 midnight, Mohammed called me from FPS 7 minutes. They want me to send them names of people that we're going to the Kenya and places like that. So in the middle of the night, I had to wake up my colleagues and those that want to go and say, get moving. And it's going to work in Sokoto based on what we discussed with them in Sokoto. I led the panel review to Sokoto not too long ago. Madam happened to be on my panel. And I'm sure the advice we give them, don't give up, to their team, don't give up, try. It's going to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Can we give him a round of applause? Also online, please let's appreciate Prof online by the teach on the clapping. I think we can do better than that because thank you very much for honoring our invitation to speak at the Abuja chapter technical meeting. Thank you so much. So on this note, from my side, I will have the chapter coordinator come forward to do the rest of the activities. Use the medium.
Thank you, Chairman, for this program. I really appreciate you. Thanks, sir. Thank you everyone for listening and for your patience. I know you've taken so much of your time. I know we've learned a lot. We have some take-homes, so we really know that there's hope for oil prospecting and oil production in Africa. Thank you so much. So moving forward, I want to do a presentation to our speaker. I would like to call our past chapter coordinator, Mr. Lee, to come and do that. Please, a round of applause for him.
the Nigeria Association of Professional Explorationists, Abuja chapter. We want to appreciate you for not just only coming, but giving us such a wonderful presentation. And we want to stay on this day, this 26th day of April. We want to present this back to you as our own way of saying thank you.
Thank you, Prof. So thank you all. Want to do announcements, time for announcements. So I want Mr. Ayokunu Arebusanya appear to do justice to that. Mr. Arebusanya.
Okay. 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 Thank you very much, everyone. For the month of April. Which we have the with production today, the technical materials destined to that move to the next. The upcoming technical meeting which we have is at the Warwick chapter and is by Dr. Obi Benjamin Obi, who is the director of the Institute of Distance Learning. Right? And he will be presenting on the topic, the seismic analysis of growth faults. So,
Hello, Mr. I can't hear you clearly. Can you use the mic?
yes. Is it good now?
Well,
Speak without the mic.
speak without the mic.
Okay. I'm speaking without now. Is it better?
No, not really.
Oh. Oh. Maybe someone could help pick it up from there then.
Let's continue.
Hello? Is it better now?
Yeah, Mr. Ayo.
Yeah.
So I think we'll just take it up from here.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
It's not very
Okay.
so
we can hear you, but we can't see the slides.
Hello, can you hear me? All right, so
We can hear you.
In continuation of the announcements, we have a call for abstracts towards the 41st NAPI International Conference. So we encourage everyone to.
Tunde, can they share the slide for us?
Okay, let me quickly share the slides.
Okay, so we have the sub teams for this year international conference and exhibition. We have the modern technologies and advancements for sustainable and environmental friendly exploration and production. We also have the transition to green energy in petroleum exploration and production space, policy framework for sustainable energy security. We also have the new concepts and methodologies in geophysics for exploration and production, the basin analysis and integrated reservoir modeling for petroleum development and production, manpower training, development and retention. We have international and local energy, business and international landscape, regulatory framework, financing and viability. The deadline is on the 31st of July 2023. So we encourage the submission of the abstracts before the deadline. On the August 21st, 2023, we expect to have the acceptance letter for insurance. It's by September 30th. You will need to have a full paper submission, and that same date,
and also the issuance of letter for the judges. All members are advised to pay their dues, update your dues payments. Students dues is 2,000 naira, active 12,000. So please be encouraged to update your dues. So we can find the account details, the NAPI account details. We'll also be informed of the Energy Week. It's supposed to be from the 9th to 13th July in Abuja. I think the venue is the International Conference Center. This just we're encouraged to key into the exhibition for the 2023 NAPI International Conference and Exhibition. And so we'll call on sponsorship opportunities for our monthly technical meetings. We want to ask for partners and ask that you partner with NAPI to host a business technical meeting in one of the monthly technical meetings for this year and showcase your company's technical strengths and edge. You need to leverage on the NAPI platform to reach various members across the world. And we also need to be aware of the NAPI HOM scheme. So please, for more information, you need to contact maybe the executive or go to the NAPI website to get more information. Thank you very much. So in furtherance of the event, I want to call on the coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. I think we've spent some time today. So I want to invite President-elect, Mr. Biodun, to please give us a vote of thanks. Online.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
You can hear you, sir.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And I want to especially thank Professor Charles Ofoegbu on behalf of the Board of Directors, the Advisory Council, and the ESCO of NAPI for this very educating and inspiring topic that have been discussed today. The preliminary result of the hydrocarbon prospectivity of the block in Kenya Basin, and it cannot come at a better time like this when we are looking at our books and opening our frontier discussion in order to increase our hydrocarbon reserves. There is no better time to explore all our basin than now that hydrocarbon is still relevant. So we need to increase our reserves. We need more of these technical discourse going forward so that we can produce our hydrocarbon when they are still relevant and not wait when they will no longer be relevant. So we need to increase productions both in oil and gas and use the revenues that we can derive for that to galvanize our energy mix. So NAPI as an organization will continue to create that platform for this type of technical discussion that we shaping the way we handle our exploration activities in this country. And it's a good news that we are getting results. We know what happened to the Konomani Basin, and we know what is currently going on in Nasarawa. So NAPI will working with all our technical experts, we provide platform for this type of technical discussion going forward. So we started that in January. We had the talk on the Cretaceous Basin that was delivered by our erudite Dr. Kende Ladipo. And I can assure everyone that we continue to bring all our erudite speakers to a platform like this so that we can continue to deepen our knowledge on how we explore all our inner basin. And we want to thank Prof for giving us this wonderful lecture today. And as I've already mentioned, NAPE conference is coming, and before then, we'll continue to have technical and business meeting across all the chapters. We had one from Uyo's chapter a few days ago on rock typing, and I want to enjoy everyone to look forward to more technical discussion like this from all our chapters. So on behalf of everyone from the Abuja chapter and NAPE family, we want to thank Prof and want to thank everybody that have found the time to be at this discussion today. Let me also use this opportunity to recognize some of our fellows that are in the house. I can see Dr. Joe Ejedawe. You are highly recognized, sir. I can see Jibola also in the house. I can also see Alex Taka, FNAPE, also in the house. I could also see Mr. Charles Ojo, also in the house. And let me see who is an other fellow that cannot mention your name. Just know that in NAPE, we recognize our fellows, and you are all highly recognized. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to welcome you again in our subsequent section. Thank you very much. Over to you, my Abuja chapter.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming, everyone. We want to also invite you to our second committee, which is coming up. I think May. May is just next month, June, and we're going to have a very interesting topic to listen to. So thank you once again. I really appreciate you. God bless you. God will take you back to your destination safely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. We'd like to take a group photograph of this. Group photograph of.